the word is out that the Steelers clearly want to upgrade at wide receiver. I know Omar Khan has come out here recently and said nothing is going on, but why exactly is he going to tell everybody and show him his cards? He's not going to do that. You know, the Steelers are looking to upgrade at wide receiver. They're looking to upgrade and have either a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2. That's what the Steelers are trying to do. Secondly, they're trying to upgrade at cornerback. Now, they're not trying to trade for any cornerbacks. They're trying to add through free agency. But let's take a look at some of the things, some of these rumors that are out there on these possible trades. First off, we've heard Brandon Aiyuk. His name has been thrown around all over the place. It was pre-draft. We wanted Brandon Aiyuk. Post-draft, now we still want Brandon Aiyuk. Seems like the asking price that the 49ers are asking for is astronomical, and Omar Khan and the Steelers are saying, nope, we're not paying that. We're not paying that. And for once, I agree. A lot of times you get into some of these things and you would think, you know, do what you can to get a receiver of this caliber. I don't think that's necessarily the play here. It's going to cost way too much money for what the Steelers want to pay. Not to mention, are we sure that Brandon Aiyuk is better than George Pickens? Are we sure of that? Because I'm not. Now, granted, you can pair the two together, and I don't disagree. But the amount of money that you're going to have to pay Aiyuk, I don't think that's what the Steelers need to do. Now, the next one is Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton has some rapport with Russell Wilson. He's going to cost more money initially than Brandon Aiyuk, but Brandon Aiyuk's going to need a new contract. You know, you're not going to trade for him and not give him a new contract. And in doing so, you're going to pay way more for him than what you would Courtland Sutton. Even if you keep Sutton for a few more years when his contract runs out, if you wanted to re-sign him, if you could, it's going to be for a lot less money. This is the move. Now, I don't know that the Steelers are going to do that, but I think this makes more sense than Aiyuk. He complements what George Pickens can do. Again, he has the rapport with Russell Wilson. Now, that's not to say that Justin Fields still can't win the job. I'm not saying that. But I think this makes a lot more sense for the Steelers to do with the wide receiver room. I would definitely take Sutton. Now, here's another rumor that's been thrown out there. Look, you've heard Deebo Samuels. I just don't think it's possible that we would bring Deebo Samuels. I take that back. It's possible, but should the Steelers do that? I think not. It's not that Deebo's not a good player, but to me, Deebo Samuels is a football player. He's not the best receiver on San Francisco. That's number one. The Steelers need a guy that can go out there and be just a receiver. We don't need a gadget guy. We just don't need that. We need a guy that can be a good either number 1 or number 2 receiver. We don't need a gadget guy. And that's what Deebo is. He fits into what San Francisco does. He's not really going to fit in with the Steelers. I know what you're thinking. Arthur Smith offense. We could use somebody like that. For what the Steelers really have and what they have on their roster, we need a wide receiver. We don't need a gadget guy. So moving on. Look, at cornerback, Cam Sutton is the name that's out there right now. Cam Sutton is the hot name. It makes a lot of sense. If the Steelers are real serious about bringing Cam Sutton in, which it seems like they are, it does make sense. And yes, he struggled last year in Detroit. I'm not saying that he didn't, but to bring him back and put him back in familiar surroundings to do some of the things that he could do, because he struggled playing slot corner last year. But you bring him back to do some of the things that the Steelers would want, it makes sense. Now, having said that, look, I read, the indictment. I read the charges. I'm not sure I can stomach it. And there's a lot of Steeler fans out there that kind of think the same thing. It's like, I'm not sure I can stomach what he is being accused of. Now, again, innocent until proven guilty. I understand all that. But from what he was charged with, not to mention he ran from the police. I'm not here to pass judgment on anybody or anything. What I'm saying is I'm just not sure that I can stomach that being on my football team. Surely the Steelers are going to do their due diligence and find out the facts before they offer him a contract. I'm sure they're going to do that. I'm sure he's also going to be serving some sort of suspension if he were to be signed with the Steelers. So that's another thing to take into account. But if all things actually check out and we're strictly talking football, it makes more sense. It definitely makes more sense than I think Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson left, and I think he was hurt by the Steelers. I think he wanted to stay, and he ended up leaving. He had a couple of things to say about the Steelers, which didn't, I mean, it came off as somebody that was scorned, that was upset that he was leaving. So I'm not sure that bringing him back would be wise for what the Steelers are trying to do. He's a little older. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the play. Another name and another rumor that's been thrown out there in the cornerback market is Xaven Howard. Now, with Xaven Howard, he's been hurt the last couple of years, but it hasn't been that long ago that this guy was all pro and a top 5 cornerback in this league. Now, it makes sense, but here's my caution, Steeler fans. He didn't get cut for a cap casualty. Like, a lot of guys get cut, because they're making too much money for what their production is. Xaven Howard got cut because he wasn't any good anymore for what the Dolphins were looking for. Because I think he could have or would have taken a pay cut to stay in Miami. And Miami just said, nope, we're done with him. And for me, that's a red flag. I'm not sure that's a guy that the Steelers want. You could think of somebody like Stephon Gilmore out of Dallas, who might be somebody that you may want to bring in just because Stephon Gilmore got cut because he was older and his contract was up, but not Xaven Howard. Xaven Howard, again, you could say it's a cap casualty if you want to, but he would have taken a pay cut to stay in Miami, and Miami didn't even offer that. They just said, no, we no longer need your services. Thank you. For me as a Steeler fan, no, we don't need that, man. We don't need a guy that's getting run out of town because his previous team doesn't think that his skills are there anymore. That's not somebody that the Steelers should bring in. Look, we need cornerback help, so help is welcome. But somebody that's being getting rid of because they don't believe that he can play anymore, why do we need to bring him in? I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's what the Steelers need to do.